Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Marissa Hammond, and I'm the manager for the Office of Graduate Studies and Professional Accreditation. I will be the host of this session, Fostering Digital Communities in Higher Education, Building a Sense of Belonging Online. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Now, I am pleased to introduce you to Dr. Shama Grimmage, a university faculty with over 10 years of experience. She's dedicated to empowering students and fostering their success through innovative teaching practices and research-driven strategies. With a doctoral degree in higher education leadership and organizational leadership, a master's degree in elementary education, and a BS in criminal justice, she has made significant contributions to Purdue Global, focusing on student success, retention, diversity, equity, and inclusion. She is also passionate about advocating for embracing technology in education and leverages digital tools to enhance engagement in online learning. And today, she'll be sharing insights on fostering digital communities in higher education. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Excuse me. As she mentioned, I am going to be speaking today on fostering digital communities in higher education, building a sense of belonging. And I'm pretty sure all of us are in higher education. We're teaching in a capacity of maybe it's face-to-face or excuse me, or online. And we know how important building that sense of belonging is with our students as well. So let us get started. All right, so a little bit about our agenda today. We're going to talk about the importance of digital communities, the current landscape of just higher education in general, building effective digital communities, and then looking at some of those strategies for building those digital communities. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of some case studies. And then I have a call to action. I know in the beginning when of the conference, it was a call to action was given to everyone. And I have my very own call to action as it relates to digital communities as well. But before we get started, I have a little activity I would like for us to do. So I would love for you to, you can scan the QR code, or you can join Slido with the code here at the bottom. And I want you to answer that question for me. What do you think of when you think about digital communities in today's world, like in today's higher education world? What comes to mind when you think of digital communities? Okay, I see some of you are typing. All right, so someone put in the chat connection. Awesome, awesome. Okay, social media, students online, meet site. Okay, isolation. Oh, all of these are keywords in what I'm going to touch on today. Yes, they are harder to build a sense of belonging. Ooh, remote connection. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? I care to participate, or you can put it in the chat if you want. Ever changing. That is so true. Ever changing. That is so true. All right. Oh, we still have more participants. I'll give you less engaging. Okay. So we're going to talk about how do we engage our students? How do we, because I love engagement as well, not only with students, but I love engagement as it relates to today, our conference, my conference presentation. Like I love the engagement with those who are joining me today. So I really appreciate all of you taking part in putting those words here. Okay, top technology tools required. Yes, yes, especially always technology tools required. Okay, so we are going to move it along. And again, thank you so much for participating. But all of these are key words in what we're going to discuss today. So thank you. All right. So digital learning communities in higher education. So when we think of the definition of what is a digital community, and digital communities in higher education refer to those online platforms and networks where students and faculty, even though we're talking about students today, but faculty as well and staff interact, you collaborate, and you build those relationships. So these communities leverage technology. So someone put in the word cloud of technology required, and leveraging this technology to create spaces where academic support, social connections, and professional development. So I've listed here a few digital communities here, that just some examples, but you have your virtual study groups and peer communities. So those are pretty much created to for students to study together virtually. They share notes, engage in peer tutoring, and they often provide that supportive academic learning environment, or that group learning and academic success. So some examples of a virtual study group are like Discord study groups or Zoom study sessions. And I know we're all familiar with Zoom and Google Meet groups, right? So, and that's real-time collaboration from peer-to-peer support. And then students are able to share resources and group discussions. And then we have our online communities. So that is distance education. So those communities are specifically designed for students enrolled in online or hybrid courses. So they facilitate communication between students, the instructor, and it also encourages collaboration and help maintain a sense of connection among remote learners. So that's that sense of belonging in those online learning communities. And then not only do digital learning communities relate to students, but also faculty and staff. So you have those faculty and staff development communities. So these communities are there to support faculty and staff in the professional growth, and you're provided resources, collaboration opportunities, and these are spaces to improve teaching methods. So maybe you share resources with other staff that could be used in the classroom and things of that nature. And then we have online student support communities, online student support communities. And those are communities that relate to academic, mental health, career support. And I'm pretty sure all of us have those embedded in our communities or in our universities that are there to support our students. So those online student support communities, which are very beneficial when you have universities or colleges that are strictly online. And then we have collaborative learning platforms or collaborative tools. And that can range anywhere from Microsoft Teams, Slack, Google Workspace. And again, those are real time. And then we have career development and network communities. So those platforms help students and alumni and even faculty explore careers. So that looks like maybe your university has Handshake, which I've seen a lot of universities have Handshake, and then maybe LinkedIn groups. So maybe your institution has a LinkedIn page where a lot of students connect that way, or alumni. They participate in those groups as well. And then the last on the list is student organization communities. So those are those are opportunities where students have the opportunity, even though they're online, they still have the opportunity to participate in organizations. So that could be geared towards their career or just some interests that they may have, or maybe like honor society, things of that nature. So student organization communities. So I want you guys to put in the chat for me, what are some digital learning communities that you have at your institutions that maybe I didn't mention here? Maybe they are specific to your college or university. But what digital learning communities are you aware of at your institution? Anybody? Okay, so we'll move along.
Oh, hi. I unmuted myself. I was gonna write online student groups, online alumni groups. We had a student research group we did online with
Oh,
current students and alumni that was very effective to work on research. And then we posted it as, for once you could start the program and once you graduated, you can continue with it. Um,
mm-hmm.
we also did a peer tutoring program online, supplementary instruction online peer tutoring program that was effective.
Oh,
But
those are awesome.
yeah, and
Thank you for.
so yeah, they did the student group was really great. We had a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and they all had roles, social media. So it was really great. And then that kind of transitioned to the alumni group.
Okay, that is awesome. That is awesome. And Marissa put in the chat, specific Facebook pages. Yes. So your university or college may have a specific page, Facebook page, or even the program. We see that a lot where you're highlighting the different things that are going on in the program or in the university or college, and you're highlighting different students. So yes, those Facebook pages are definitely digital communities as well. All right. So thank you for sharing. All right. So now let's look at the current landscape, right? So we know there are plenty of trends in higher education, but I'm just going to talk about two here. So some trends that we're seeing as it relates to digital communities is the increase in online and hybrid learning. So we in just having a conversation prior to this, we talk about COVID-19 and how a lot of the institutions opened up maybe they opened up an online institution or something along those lines. But diving into COVID-19, that pretty much accelerated the adoption of online learning because prior to that, different institutions had their own silos of students who are taking online, right? So COVID-19 happened, we're thrusted into online learning, and then different institutions are having to adjust or pivot, right? And into those online learning models or blended. So it really went from traditional face-to-face to either online or hybrid, right? And then just when many thought that COVID was over, you have students who are not comfortable with going back face to face, right? So they're either staying online or they're going to hybrid. So they're taking classes that are some face to face, some are online. So that kind of increased that online and hybrid learning community. And many institutions were investing in learning management systems. And I remember before COVID, right when COVID happened, I was teaching face to face and having to go online, and many institutions were not familiar. So it was a learning opportunity for everyone, right? And look how it turned out. You have some institutions strictly online, and then you have some that are hybrid, but it's working, right? And then another trend that we're seeing is the rise of social media and digital platforms, right? So social media has become an essential tool for universities to engage with their audience. So to engage with students. And the universities or colleges are promoting their core values or managing crises through social media. But when you have social media, it provides those opportunities for students, alumni, and faculty, and even a broader community, right? Because sometimes, you're a newer institution or maybe you've been around, but now that you're leveraging social media, more students are starting to enroll. More students are starting to become engaged. That retention those percentages are starting to go up, and so forth. And then let's talk about a little bit about the challenges, right? So I'm in the word cloud, someone mentioned isolation. And that is so that's a key word when we're talking about digital communities, though, or just online in general. Isolation and disengagement. So students may feel like they don't belong, or they struggle to form those relationships in that online environment. Or you may have some students who are just they're used to those small classrooms, right? And then when you get online, you have a larger course, so it just makes them seem as though they just don't fit in, right? And then you have students who struggle academically. So you have students who are dealing with fear of asking questions, that stress, that inadequacy, and so they struggle academically. And then I say isolation and disengagement, geographical, right? Because when you're online, you have students from everywhere. So students from diverse backgrounds or international students can feel excluded or disconnected, especially in those digital spaces. And this is just an example. I have a student who was her English was not her first language, and she was in my class, and her grades were not the best, but because English wasn't her first language, she struggled on some of the assignments, and then being new to online learning, didn't want to ask questions, that led to that isolation, and then her reaching out to me last minute and us trying to figure out what was happening and how we could get her caught up. Okay. And then we have digital divide. That's a challenge, and accessibility. So we all know not every student has access to technology, or maybe they have access to technology, but it's not on a consistent basis. So that creates that digital divide and those accessibility issues. And one thing I was looking at prior to starting my presentation is, it's like, oh my gosh, is my PowerPoint, let me check for those accessibility issues, right? So that's not something that a lot of people think about when you're getting ready to present at a conference, or you're presenting in your class, your online classroom. Does that PowerPoint, or do those resources, are they accessible for everyone, right? So are you using the captions and things that are, is your PowerPoint able to be translated into another language, things of that nature. So the digital divide and accessibility issues is another challenge. All right, so why we're here. So belonging in online education or online learning. So students, and it's been researched upon, but students who feel a sense of belonging in online environments are more likely to engage with their coursework, participate in discussions, and form those long-lasting connections with their peers and their instructors. And Julie states that they have implemented technology so that students can access systems sitting in their car in our parking lots, as they have no internet access when building our clothes. Yes, that is awesome, Julie. That is awesome. So that is another accessibility, not having Wi-Fi, right? And just being able to access Wi-Fi. If I need to do some work, I'm able to sit outside or sit within a certain vicinity of my campus and do it that way. Or, it's a lot. It's a lot when it comes to accessibility. But back to belonging in online learning. So you may ask, like, well, not you, but some people may ask, absolutely, Julie, absolutely. You may ask the importance of belonging in online learning. We know the importance, but I'm going to share with you why it's important. So increased motivation. So students who feel a sense of belonging are more likely to be motivated to learn in class. Improved performance. So A sense of belonging can lead to improved academic performance and higher levels of satisfaction. So when students feel like they belong, they interact more, they are more inclined to complete the assignments and things of that nature. And then also reduce isolation. So online learning, again, it builds that isolation, but a sense of belonging can help students feel connected with their peers. And that's a goal of mine. Every term that I'm with my students, I want to reduce that sense of isolation, and I want to invoke that sense of belonging in my course, to where they feel like not only do they belong in my course, but they also belong in terms of the university as well. All right, and before we talk about building effective digital communities, what are some things that you guys do to foster that sense of belonging? Maybe it's in your course, or maybe it's in just maybe your staff, and maybe you work with students not on a teaching basis, but administrative wise. What are some things that we do to foster that sense of belonging for our students? Anyone? Okay, so as you guys put that in the chat, I will move along to building effective digital communities. And Paul, you mentioned offering Zoom office hours. That brings up a good point. So in my course, I have virtual office hours. So virtual office hours. So typically when we hear office hours, we think of, we're looking at students face to face, but virtual office hours in my course, it serves as its own discussion board. So students are able to go into that discussion, those virtual office hours, and I check it every day, and they're able to ask questions. I recommend them not asking personal questions, but I ask if they have questions, and I'll answer those. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of times when they ask questions, another student has that same question. They're just afraid to ask. So that is one. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So building effective digital communities. So you have your key components. So we have engagement strategies. So that's discussion boards, social media groups, and so on. And then we have collaborative tools. That's Google Workspace, Microsoft Teams. That could be Zoom as well. So to collaborate, I know I use Google Chat, like the chat room, or creating those different chats or meetings through Google. And then supportive systems. Okay, Google Hangout, yes. And then someone else put in the chat, WhatsApp. I haven't yes, wishing students happy birthday in the course. Yes. Breakout rooms in Zoom. Yes, those are all great. Yes, Google Hangout, breakout rooms. I use breakout rooms all the time. And a lot of times it goes over well because students they know of Zoom, but they don't know of the breakout rooms. And then someone mentioned Menti. I love Menti. I was going to use that in this course, in our session today, but it wasn't acting correctly for me. So I moved on. And quizzes, yes, absolutely. So we have our support systems. That's mentorship and peer support. Mentorship and peer support. And a lot of times, like on the first day of class, I like to put my students in breakout rooms so they can get to know each other. And they're not always, it's not just like one big class, but you're able to get to know your peers. So that way, if, maybe you have a question, who you can reach out to, but that's how you build those relationships. Betty says, I ask questions about their goals and use examples that show them how the course can support their goals. Absolutely. An elevator pitch. Yes, I used to use that all the time. Elevator pitches work wonders. So thank you for sharing that. And then we have our best practices, right? So best practices, encourage participation through gamification. Encourage participation through gamification. So award points for students who participate in activities such as discussion boards, attending virtual office hours, and things of that nature. But how many of us use gamification in our courses? Anyone? So I don't, but it is something that I would like to implement. Okay. Okay, that is awesome. Awesome. So that's something for me to, I've never used it either. So that's something for me to think about. But an example could be, you can implement a point system where students earn points for engaging in that peer feedback, participating in live discussions, or contributing sources to class points. And so leadership boards could show top participants motivating students to engage more. So that's an example of that encouraging participation through gamification. And then creating inclusive environments for student populations, creating inclusive environments for student populations. So that's creating culturally responsive content. So ensuring that our course content and community and our activities reflect diverse perspectives, cultures, and experiences. So providing material. So an example of that could be providing materials that represent diverse authors, researchers, and perspectives. So students from various backgrounds feel seen and represented in the curriculum as a whole. So Dr. Dawn says, I heard in another presentation about earning badges. I thought that was a great idea. Yeah. So I know there are different LinkedIn learning opportunities. Like LinkedIn has just implemented this whole LinkedIn learning, and a lot of institutions are using that. And students, as well as faculty and staff, are able to earn badges when they complete a LinkedIn learning course. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I have like a ton of badges. I don't show them on LinkedIn, but that is really cool. That encourages students to definitely participate in different things that the university or the college is offering, as well as the course. Okay, and then also in creating that inclusive environment, flexible communication styles, right? So recognize that students have different communication preferences and abilities. So in an online forum, you offer students the option to post audio or video responses and written posts to make participation more accessible. So I know we do that with assignments, but not necessarily like discussion posts or anything along those lines, because it also depends on the learning, the tool that is used to facilitate these online learning. And then also multilingual support. So provide multilingual resources for students who speak different languages. And yes, Michelle, if I could, I would. That is an awesome, because I love videos. I mean, I post videos, but not necessarily, like that's something for me to look into, because you have not Klarna, sorry. What is it called? I can't think of it. Kaltura. Yes, Kaltura. You have Kaltura. So I post videos that way, but that's also another way of recording yourself, like a welcome message, or maybe you're discussing something, and a student can go through Kaltura as well. And instead of writing out their discussion posts, they record a video of their discussion post. So that's a great idea. But I love Kaltura, by the way. So also in creating that inclusive environment, safe and respectful digital spaces. So establishing those clear out guidelines for respectful and inclusive behavior in digital communities, right? So we may not all agree with different perspectives, but we will be respectful of each other and taking it from there. And then consider integrating community guidelines. So what are some of those community guidelines that you have for your course or different digital communities? And then accommodations for disabilities. What does that look like? Considering offering alternative formats for learning materials. So audiobooks, large print. So some students, they learn well by hearing, and then some students learn well by doing. And Julie put in the chat, our students have free access to LinkedIn Learning, and our Career Center has created some courses there. So I have students set up accounts to take those and then anything else they want. I also try to use open education textbooks so I can provide a variety of texts without cost of students. Yes, absolutely. Within my course, we have reading materials that are accessible to students, and I tell them it not only is it applicable to inside of my classroom as we go through each unit, but it's also accessible applicable outside of the classroom as well. So resources that you're providing students, and then also have a LinkedIn assignment. Most students are a little bit hesitant on creating a LinkedIn profile, but I talk about the benefits of it, and some of them end up creating a LinkedIn profile. All right, and then establishing diverse collaboration. So that enhances a sense of belonging for all students, and it reduces barriers to participation and engagement, and then it promotes rich, multifaceted learning environments where multiple perspectives are valued. And then the last best practice is utilizing faculty involvement to foster that community, right? So active presence in an online community. So what does that mean? Regular check-ins. Maybe you post in your discussion board to create that sense of community in your discussion board. You're talking about that topic with your students, or you're responding to different posts. You're posting different videos or questions that you are able to ask your students, but you're participating in those discussion boards and responding to your students. And again, like I said, those regular check-ins. So that could be weekly emails, again, those virtual office hours. All of that creates a sense of community within those digital communities or within your course. Oh, okay. All right, so leveraging synchronous and asynchronous engagement. So a mix of synchronous and asynchronous activities can foster a dynamic and engaging learning experience. So while those synchronous activities allow for real-time interaction, while asynchronous activities provide flexibility and support for students with those diverse schedules. So, online you're working with students who are non-traditional students, right? So asynchronous activities may work best for them. Whereas you have students who are, strictly taking classes online. They don't work, or maybe they do work, but their schedule is a little bit more differently. So those synchronous activities. But live chat sessions, right? So synchronous chat sessions that can be used to facilitate real-time discussions and brainstorming. And then again, those virtual office hours. So synchronous office hours allow students to connect with the instructor and ask questions in real time. And then online study groups. So synchronous study groups can provide a space for students to work together on assignments and support each other's learning. But also, those breakout rooms also can facilitate as study groups as well to support those students' learning. All right, so now we move into strategies for building digital communities. So building effective digital communities in higher education requires a strategic approach, right? And that combines technology, pedagogy, and community building principles. So in this evolving landscape of higher education, the formation of digital communities has become vital, right? So they foster engagement, collaboration, and again, that sense of belonging. And then as we continue to adapt to the new digital age, because that's what it is, right? We're going to call it what it is. Cultivating these communities will be essential in supporting students, faculty, and staff, ultimately enriching that academic journey for all. So what do those strategies look like? So building inclusive platforms, which we just talked about, but strategies for building inclusive platforms. So use tools and platforms where online interaction can occur. And then facilitate open communication. And then we have those peer mentors, encourage group work, embrace diversity, and then student well-being. So I just want to touch on student well-being for a second. My mouse is going crazy. But I just want to touch on student well-being for a second. So that ensures that the students have access to those mental health resources and support services that are offered within the college or university. So building a well-being community can reframe that overall sense of belonging to benefit students in feeling disconnected and afraid to reach out. So a lot of times, though your colleges or universities, they offer those mental health resources for students who are feeling isolated or depressed or things of that nature. And I try to incorporate that sometimes into my whatever I'm talking about for that unit. And then one way I like to build a student well-being is every course, like every live seminar that we have, I have a check-in. So I ask students to either respond with an emoji or they can put in the chat, but how are they doing today? Like really, like how are you doing today? And I found that over the years that I've been teaching, that students really respond to that. And then I ask questions because a lot of times, some of the questions I pose, they tell me, no one's ever asked that before. But as we progress throughout the term, I ask, what is a goal that you have for today? Or what did you do to mitigate stress today? Or what can we do each day going forward for just 5 minutes that makes our day better? Things of that nature. So asking those questions to kind of really tap into their well-being to actually see how they're doing. Because sometimes no one's asking. So that well-being, building that community and really honing in on the students' well-being is something that I like to talk about. And then one thing that you don't see on your screen is get feedback. So frequently ask students questions about their access experience of the digital community. And then by understanding what they want and what they need, we can then also create that sense of belonging as well. So at the end of every term, I ask my students, what were some things that you liked in the course? What were some things that you didn't like? What were some things that you thought that could be better? And what were some assignments that you liked? What did you take from this assignment? And then also we have the assessment or the feedback that students provide overall for each class that they took after the term is ended. But all of those contribute to building that effective digital community, that all of these strategies here, as well as, and then that feedback as well. All right. So we've looked at some strategies on building digital communities, but we're looking at now we're going to look at case studies. So digital community case studies. So you see here, I have University of Maryland, digital learning and online communities, right? So they want to enhance student engagement and support their online learners. So that goes from, that looks like, some strategies that they've implemented is online discussion forums, peer mentoring programs, and virtual events. What does that look like? Hosting webinars and Q&A sessions with faculty and industry experts to encourage interaction, right? So I know one thing someone asked me, what is something that the college or university could do going forward to facilitate sense of belonging? And one of my main things was, it would be so cool to have a Q&A session with alumni that have gone through the program, and then they can come back and give their advice or nuggets of wisdom to students who are now going through the program. Oh, you host an alumni spotlight event. That is awesome. So that is something, I think that is really, really cool. Really cool. All right, and then we have Duke University, Digital Commons. So that's a platform to collaborate research and scholarship. And they encourage researchers from different fields to share ideas and work on joint projects. And then they have networking opportunities, so organize virtual conferences and workshops to facilitate connections among scholars. And their goal was to strengthen interdisciplinary research initiatives. So that's more, thank you, that's more geared towards faculty. And then we have University of South Carolina, so USC, Dorrance Fife College of Letters and Arts and Sciences. So I encourage you, I'm not going to go through, I can't go through all of them because we're pressed for time here, but I encourage you to kind of look up what other colleges or universities are doing for as it relates to digital communities. And then also look at your own college or university for what type of digital communities have been implemented there that maybe you didn't know about. Okay. And then my last slide here is a call to action. So we must, all of us, as faculty, staff, what have you, we must all prioritize the development of vibrant digital communities. So we let's commit to taking actionable steps. So looking at those strategies to ensure our higher education institutions thrive in this digital age here. And I encourage you to implement the strategies discussed, and then promote networking opportunities for collaboration. And then here you have on the screen, engage with stakeholders, choose the right tools, promote inclusivity, and then organize regular activities, recognize contributions, and solicit feedback and adapt, and then empower your leadership. You may even be leadership, so empower your leadership. But that is the end of my presentation, and I thank you so much. I thank all of you for listening to me ramble and give all this good information, but thank you so much, and I bid you all a very good afternoon. Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions they wanted to ask before we're wrapping up here?
Yes, any questions?
We've got 3 minutes if anyone does. If not, we will let you go.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.
And I'm not seeing any, so let's go ahead and close our session out. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Grimmage, and thank you to the audience for your participation in today's session. Please use the survey link I'm posting to give us some feedback on your conference experience and to also help us with our conference awards. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.